Yes.
In the context of the question, in the light of the question asked by Commissioner Baloy about whether you became aware of irregular expenditure related to the PKTT, in that annual report that was presented to you, was the PKTT expenditure flagged as irregular expenditure?
No.
What a sad time to be a South African at this moment, seeing someone that was supposed to protect, someone that is supposed to be the Minister of Police, contradicting himself so much about such a critical decision that he made, that has changed a lot of people's lives, that has changed a lot of things in South Africa. That has also validified the fact that there is criminal cartels that have influenced and interfered with the work of the police. And this testimony, especially this last part of the testimony, as much as it was funny, but it also made me see a lot of contradictions and also feel for our country. Let us get to some of these contradictions that I saw.
And then you say, I'm advised that this rendered the expenditure on the PKTT irregular under the PFMA. You see where I'm reading, Minister?
Yes.
And then you repeat it slightly differently in paragraph 170. And this time you repeat it as one of your reasons. You say temporary, you see 170?
Yes.
Okay. You say third, SAP's budgetary and organizational obligations, including those treasury instructions and guidelines, require that operational functions be located within approved, properly formed, funded cost centers. Temporary teams outside the approved structure cannot be sustained, and their continuation exposes SAPs to irregular expenditure. The PKTT had not been formally extended since July 2022, rendered continued expenditure irregular under the PFMA. You say that. You started off saying you were advised.
Yes.
Now, General Dimbane says you've never discussed, or she's never discussed with you, the expenditure of the PKTT,
yes.
The budget. She says that.
Yes.
Who would have advised you that expenditure of the PKTT is irregular under the PFMA?
I was advised by my lawyers. I did indicate that yesterday.
Okay.
I simply put a situation as I understood it. And the discussion. Yes.
I want to be careful not to get into any conversations that you have had with your lawyers.
Okay.
You mean your present lawyers?
Yes.
So the testimony that I want to talk about, part of the testimony is when the minister was talking about the people that have came to him and laid complaints about the PKTT. And he's mentioned 8 names. And amongst those names, Fadiel Adams is the name of Patricia Mashele, and it's also the name of Mary Dihas. Patricia Mashele, I don't want to talk about her that much, but I even saw that she's trending on Twitter. And the trend is because she's associated with O'Sullivan. The very O'Sullivan that has been said that he doesn't like Dumisani Kumalo, doesn't like Abom Kwanazi, he just didn't like the PKTT and wanted it to be disbanded. Now we hear that Patricia was actually working with him allegedly. And he even asked help from him to assist with some irregular appointments that were happening in SAPs. And during the testimony today, we found out that Mashele is not a police officer. She's an admin clerk, a former admin clerk in the SAPs. And Minister Mchunu used and said that, she was a police officer, a former police officer, and relied on her. That is why, actually, a Facebook post, that is why he decided that, he should disband. He's one of the people that he relied on that informed the decision for him to disband.
Now, I see here you call Miss Mashale a former police officer. I would like to refer you.
Not only her, even Mary Dihas. This is where the contradiction came.
So when we look at Dihas's documents that you have placed before us and what you say in the statement about her, we look at it for the purpose of determining if it influenced your decision in any way, because that's our only interest, is did Ms. Dihas have anything to do with the decision of the minister? That's why Commissioner Kumalo asks you, is it a coincidence that your letter looks like hers? It's because we are looking at, you've given us this document from Ms. Dihas. Do you give them to us because you say, look at that, those 100 pages. That's part of what I took into account. That's one possibility why you place them before us. Or we say, well, we've listened to the minister. He's told us that Mary Dihas is completely irrelevant to his decision to disband the PKTT. I'm trying to get that kind of clarity for myself. Is she completely irrelevant?
Specifically, she is not relevant on these matters.
At ad hoc committee, the biggest argument he made was that Mary Dihas is the one, a scholar, a lecturer. I don't know if he's a lecturer or a researcher at KwaZulu-Natal University. He relied on Mary Dihas a lot. But after that Mary Dihas testimony, he had to change it all very quickly. And his counsel, they thought that the best defense that he can raise is the defense of the budget. Obviously, you're going to go to the budget. But now he comes and says that no, he didn't really rely on Mary Dihas to make that decision. But at ad hoc committee, he said something different. So Senzo Mchunu is literally filled with a lot of lies when it comes to his testimony right now and the decision that informed him to disband the PKTT. And even those 8 people, I wonder if whether O'Sullivan is part of those, because O'Sullivan has been very vocal and seems like he's connected to all these people that didn't want the PKTT, that wanted the PKTT to be disbanded. Could it be that high chances even O'Sullivan is involved in this whole thing and is part of the 8 people together with Abu Fidel Adams, Abu Mary Dihas, Abu Patricia Mashele? Patricia Mashele, I'm not going to lie, to a certain degree, I'm so disappointed because I trusted her. I thought that, she definitely is a whistleblower and that she's went through a lot of suffering in the subs. But now, with everything going on, it seems like Umama, she herself has her own ulterior motives and wants to push certain agendas in her own part and in her own will. Now moving right along to the budget issue. So the minister spoke about the budget and said that, the budget was not enough and that's why they had to disband. However, the CFO came and said something different. And the evidence leader tested him on what the CFO said. And this is what happened during those proceedings.
But you see, you cite it as a reason for disbanding. So this is something you must have had by the 29th. That you've had conversations with your present lawyers, I shouldn't get into it. I'm not allowed to get into it.
That's fine.
I'm discussing it as a third reason for your decision because it appears under the heading reasons for my directive, and you say third. It's the expenditure is irregular. So hence my question to you, that as at the 29th of December, who would have told you this if the CFO tells Parliament that she's not discussed matters of the PKTT budget with you? Who else in subs, as at the 29th of December, told you it's irregular expenditure?
No, before the 29th, I wasn't focused on irregular or regular from the point of view of subs of PKTT. But I was aware that by the 29th, 30th and 31st, that for quite a number of years, subs incurs irregular expenditure, whether it comes from PKTT expenditure or from any. But what I was aware that before I wrote that PKTT is a temporal team. It derives its budget, I was aware of that, from national. Now, where national? From various programs. And I was aware that Treasury is discouraging that and encouraging us to discourage it in our departments.
The minister, if you guys can hear, he's saying that before the 31st, he did not even think that is because of the budget. The budget situation was not the reason why he disbanded. But now, from the advice of his lawyers, that is when he decided to say, no, the disbandment is because of the budget concerns. Hi, bo guys. How much of fools are we? Like, what does Senzo Mchunu think we are? This is so disappointing to hear, and I understand why Madlanga is just sitting there and numb and just listening to this testimony, this sham of a testimony. Someone who doesn't want to take accountability. Instead, he's always looking for something to blame so that it doesn't point back to him. Yo, guys, we are so doomed as a country. I don't know when is this man going to literally agree and take accountability from what he has done. I don't know what you guys think. Please comment your thoughts. I didn't want to make it long because I'm just doing bits and pieces. I don't know. Yeah, sure.
Did you bring to the president's attention your thinking and your intention in that, insofar as PKTT is or the continued existence of PKTT is concerned?
Not before.
No,
but it was only after.
Oh, how long after the 31st of December did you have that engagement?
I think it must have been the 23rd, if not the 13th, one of the two dates.